In this lesson, I'm going to suggest two short exercises to help review and consolidate what we've seen so far. What you see on the screen in my Emacs editor is one of the working files. It's called amend.txt, and the cursor right now is pointing at my web.xml file. So this is the so-called deployment descriptor. It's a configuration file. Technically, it's optional, but in production-grade services, you'd always have it. So my Ant script requires it, but an empty one will do very nicely right now. Now you'll recall that in this prediction service, the first code example, I had a JSP script. It's called predictions.jsp, and I had two backend Java beans, basically two fairly straightforward .java classes. My choice of names, predictions.jsp, puts a bit of burden on the programmer. So, for example, when a client calls my service, as you see in this sample curl command, immediately after the 8080, the port number, you see /predictions. For Tomcat, that's always the name of the WAR file. The same, by the way, for Jetty. So the WAR file is predictions.war, so we have /predictions. Following that, you have /predictions.jsp, the name of my JSP script. What we'd like to do in the first exercise is get rid of that predictions.jsp. So to that end, the first exercise is quite simple. Rename predictions.jsp to index.jsp, which is a default name. Rebuild the WAR file using the Ant script. And once that's done, you see down here now with the new curl, all we need after the port number is /predictions, because Tomcat will now look for either index.html, we don't have that, index.htm, we don't have that, or index.jsp, we do have that. So naming predictions.jsp to something else, in this case index.jsp, greatly simplifies on the client side. So it's a good idea. Now I'm going to review very briefly how the Ant script works, but let me first make a general point. Because you're already a Java programmer, you know about implementing application logic. That's not going to change in web services, of course. You're still going to do most of your work in the application logic area. The new part is the building of a deployable service, and so that's what we're emphasizing in these two exercises. The application logic basically is irrelevant. So let me go to a second document, very simple. This is in the working files as well. It's called bean.txt. And what I've done is taken my predictions.jsp and amended it. So at the top, you see this JSP use bean. That's also present in the predictions.jsp. The ID I use is called now. Any name would do. The change, of course, is here. Java.util.date is one of the standard classes in the Java distribution. Before, I was using a user-defined class called predictions. So all of these Java classes are eligible to be used as beans. By convention, of course, a Java bean is a class that implements properties with get-set methods. Date has those. It has, for example, getTime, setTime, things like that. But Date also has other methods that are not properties. Basically, with the object reference now defined up here, down here in my Java code, I can call any date method that I like on this object, referred to by NOW. So my suggestion is that in the second exercise, you do something like now get time or now toString to get a human readable version of the current time. And then you use the implicit object reference out together with println to send back a response. If you like, of course, you could format this as XML. It also could go back as plain text. That's not the big deal. The big deal is putting it all together, doing the packaging and the deployment to Tomcat. So let me do a quick review of how to do this. Pick any directory you like on your system. Let's call that the current working directory. put my build.xml in the current working directory, create a subdirectory called src. So the name is important. It has to be lowercase. Put the dummy web.xml in that directory, and also put your new JSP script in that directory. We already know it's easiest if you name that index.jsp. And then from the current working directory, here for review is the ant invocation. So it's ant -d, war name equals anything you like, deploy. And then for testing, once you've done that, the deployment on Tomcat's side should be instantaneous. I'm assuming, of course, that Tomcat is up and running. Curl localhost 8080/time. This should hit your index.jsp, and you should get back whatever message you send with the out.println.